He didn't ask her name, just saw her standing there, holding the broom like she'd always had it, like the barn was hers to clean. The dogs hadn't barked, the gate hadn't creaked. She was just there, sweeping slowly in the dust and rot and silence. He watched her for too long before speaking. She didn't flinch. "You lost?" She didn't answer, just kept sweeping. Bare hands, no gloves, no coat. He stepped forward. "You need something?" The broom hit something solid, a soft clunk. She stopped, tapped the spot again. Another thud, duller this time. She looked down. He looked down. Hay shifted. Something pale showed through. His voice came out low. "Don't touch that." She didn't move. "I said don't." She bent down, pushed the hay aside with one hand. The bone was small. Could have been a broken branch. Could have been anything. But he knew. Her voice was dry. "How deep do you bury her?" He froze. She didn't look at him. "I'm only here because Mama trusted you." The air turned still, cold without wind. He felt it settle behind his ribs. "Who's your mama?" he asked. She touched the edge of the bone. "She used to be someone. That doesn't tell me anything." She finally looked at him, eyes too old for her face. "It tells you enough." He took a slow step forward. "Listen." "No." "You don't know what this is." "I do." He stared at the shape in the dirt. "That ain't what it looks like." She looked down. "It looks like someone you didn't care enough to bury right." He shook his head. "You need to leave. I'm not here for you. You're in my barn. I swept it for you." He ran a hand over his face. "What's your name?" She stood. "You don't get it yet." "Get what?" "She told me you'd say that. That you'd pretend." He stepped back, bumping into the stall gate. "Look, you can't come here digging up things you don't understand." "I understand fine." "You don't." "She said you were scared of what you left here." My mama." He shut his mouth. She walked past him, picked up a rusted pail, set it down again, looked around the barn like she remembered it. "She used to bring me here," she said. "When I was small, you gave us milk once, let us stay in the loft. She said you were good then." He stared at her back. "That was a long time ago. She trusted you. I was trying to help." "She died anyway." He said nothing. She turned back to the bone. "How long's it been?" He didn't answer. "I counted 12 winters since she vanished." He looked away. "Every time snow fell, I thought maybe it'd cover her the way you did. It wasn't like that, wasn't it?" He crouched near the spot. His hands shook. "You don't understand what it was like back then. The sheriff made the rules. I didn't have a say." She watched him. "Mama said you did have a say." "I tried." "Did you fight?" He didn't speak. "Did you stop him?" His jaw locked. She pointed at the bone. "Who is that?" "I don't know." Wrong answer. He stood. "Get out of here." "No." "You don't belong here." "I was born here." He laughed once, bitter. "No one's born here. They just show up and get stuck." She stepped closer. "So did you bury her alone?" He stared at the floor. "Was it night?" she asked. "Did you light a lantern or just let the dark do it for you?" He grabbed the broom out of her hands and threw it. It clattered across the barn. "You think this is some kind of game?" he snapped. "I think you forgot she had a daughter." He turned his back. "You can't stay." "I already have." "You're not safe here." "I never was." He faced her again. "You want answers. You better be ready for what they cost." "I've already paid." He looked at the bone again, then at her. Her jaw was tight, her hands clenched. She wasn't crying. "Your mama." He swallowed. "She tried to leave. The sheriff caught her. I didn't know he'd bring her back here. I didn't know what he'd do." She didn't blink. "But you found her, didn't you?" He nodded once. "And you didn't tell anyone." "No." "Because you were scared." "Because I was guilty." She crouched beside the bone again. "She used to hum to me. In this barn." He said nothing. "She braided my hair with hay strings." His voice cracked. "I remember that." She reached into her pocket, pulled out something small, tossed it near the bone, a charm, faded red thread. "She told me this place would remember her." He took a step back. She looked up. "Does it?" He stared at the charm. "Every day." Her voice dropped. "Good." He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. She turned back to the dirt. "There's more under here, isn't there?" He didn't answer. "I'll find them," she said. He stared at her. The broom. the bone, her face. And then he said nothing at all, just stood there, silent, sick, watching the girl sweep again, slow, steady, until something else shifted under the hay. And this time, she didn't stop. She just looked up and watched him break apart from the inside. He didn't move, didn't breathe right, just kept staring at the girl like she'd spoken in a tongue meant for ghosts. "I asked your name." She didn't look at him. She stayed crouched, one hand pressed flat on the hay, like listening for a heartbeat under it. "You hear me?" he said. "I heard." "Then say it." Her fingers curled, scraped gently through the dust. "You're not supposed to know my name." He stepped forward. "What kind of riddle?" She said nothing, just dragged a line in the hay with her palm, slow and exact. "You walk into my barn, dig up the past, throw words like bricks, and I don't even know what to call you?" She glanced up. "Call me whatever you called her." He stiffened. "You think I don't remember," she said. "But I do." "I didn't mean it like that. You called her names behind closed doors, said she was in trouble, said she brought it on herself." "I never said that to her face." She stood. "Exactly." He wiped a hand down his jaw. "You have a smart mouth." She died with her mouth full of dirt. "Maybe that's why mine won't shut." He turned away from her. His voice dropped. "Who was she?" "You knew her." "I knew a lot of women." She stepped close. "You knew her." He swallowed hard. "I don't—" "You knew her," she repeated, "but you didn't save her." The words cracked him open. He grabbed a shovel, leaning against the stall, slammed it down into the hay like it could change the subject. "I tried," he muttered. "She didn't move." "No, you watched." "You think I just stood there?" "I know you did." "She begged," he said. The girl flinched. He kept talking, like he couldn't stop now. "She begged the sheriff, said she had nowhere to go, said the baby was sick." He just laughed. "She wasn't sick," the girl whispered. "She was pregnant." He froze. "She was carrying me." The barn was quiet again. Too quiet. He turned, slow. "Is that true?" "You buried her in the same dirt she brought me into." He lowered the shovel. "She trusted you," the girl said. "She shouldn't have." "She said you used to be good." He shook his head. "Good don't last long out here." She crouched again, moved the hay with both hands now. Deliberate, careful. She didn't look afraid of what she'd find. "Why here?" she asked. "I didn't know what else to do." "You could have told someone." "No one would have listened." "Then you should have shouted." He didn't answer. "She screamed, didn't she?" The girl said. "When he took her." He nodded. "And you heard it." "I was in the next room." The girl pressed her palm against the dirt. "Did she die fast?" He closed his eyes. "I think so." "You think?" She didn't make a sound after. "Do you ever dream of that silence?" "Every night." She started to dig again. No shovel, just her bare hands. He couldn't look away. "She's down there," the girl whispered. "She's still waiting for you to do something." "I can't fix it." "You're not supposed to." He stepped forward. "Then what do you want?" "I want you to feel it." He blinked. "Feel what?" What she felt. He looked at the bone again. "I already do." "Not enough." He knelt down beside her. His knees creaked. His hands hovered above the dirt. "She's under here," the girl said. "I know." "Then help me." He looked at her. Her face was set. No tears, no rage, just purpose. He touched the dirt. "Why now?" he asked. "Because the sheriff's still alive." His head snapped up. She nodded. "And he still walks around like he's holy." He didn't speak. "He took everything from us," she said. "And you let him." He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. She scraped at the dirt again. The edge of something darker showed beneath. Clothes, maybe. A fragment. He flinched. "Do you remember her face?" she asked. "I remember her hands. She used them to cover me when it rained." "I remember that too." The girl whispered, "Say her name." He hesitated. "Say it." He breathed. "Lena." The girl sat back on her heels, closed her eyes. He stared at her. "That is her real name?" he asked. She nodded. "You remembered." "I never forgot." "You acted like you did." "I was trying to survive." "She died trying to live." They sat in silence. The girl opened her eyes, reached forward, pushed more hay aside, more dirt, more truth. The man didn't stop her, didn't dare. Not this time. He knew that scar before he remembered her name. long and clean across the palm like a second lifeline. She'd told him once how it got there, cut on barbed wire trying to pull her daughter through a fence. Said the girl was too little to climb it herself. Said she'd rather bleed than let go. He remembered thinking that was the kind of woman who didn't die easily. But she had. He stared at the floor, at the shallow grave that had already started to open. The girl crouched again, still digging. She had a scar, he said. The girl didn't look up. I know. Across her right hand. I know. She told me how she got it. She told me too. He rubbed his palms together, cold sweat in the creases. The barn smelled like rain-soaked soil, like hay turned sour, like that night. You were here, he whispered. She didn't answer. You were here that night. Still, nothing. You remember it? Every minute. He felt the walls closing in, the same way they had when the sheriff knocked, same pressure in his chest, same sweat on his neck. I didn't see you, he said. I saw you. I didn't know she brought you. She asked you for help, with me in her arms. I don't remember that. You looked straight at me. He stepped back. The light through the slats hit the dust just right. He saw her outline, sleeves rolled, fingers stained with dirt. She looked like her. She begged you to let us stay, the girl said. He nodded once. I remember that part. You let her stay. I didn't know he'd come back for her. Yes, you did. He turned away, gripping a post. She said he wouldn't dare come on my land. And he did. He didn't answer. She reached deeper. The dirt gave. Her knuckles scraped something. She paused, brushed. Her breath hitched. Another bone, smaller, thin, light. She lifted it like it was a secret. He staggered forward. What is that? You tell me. His knees buckled. That's not. She held it out. You said you didn't see me. I didn't. You said you didn't know. I didn't know she brought you in. She told you I was asleep. His mouth opened, closed. She laid me in the loft, the girl whispered, told me to stay quiet. He remembered something then, a creak above him, a shadow. He'd told himself it was just the wind moving the beams. She said she'd come back, the girl said. He sank to the floor. I waited, she said, all night. His voice broke. I didn't know. You did. I swear to God. You let him take her, she said. You let her scream. I thought she was alone. And when the screaming stopped, I went out back. I dug. I thought, you thought what? I thought burying her would make it quiet again. She stared at him. But I was still there. I didn't know. I cried in the hay until my throat gave out. He buried his face in his hands. I was 5. I thought you'd gone with him. You let him kill her, she said, and you didn't even check if she came alone. The barn swelled with silence, heavy and sick. He looked up. Why are you here now? I need you to see what you left. I see it. Number you saw her. She held the smaller bone. Now you see me. His voice dropped. What do you want me to do? Remember, I do. You pushed it away. For 12 years. You told yourself she was one more broken woman and I was no one. He nodded, slow. I grew up without her, without anyone. You didn't just bury her. You buried every life she touched. I tried to survive, he said. So did she. The girl set the bone beside the other. He couldn't stop shaking. What else is down there? She looked at him. Only what you forgot. I didn't mean to forget. You chose to. He nodded. She brushed off her hands. You left us both here. The words didn't echo. They landed heavy. Final. And he couldn't argue, couldn't run, could only stare at the 2 bones on the barn floor, one big, one small, until they stopped looking like the past and started looking like judgment. He sat on the barn floor like the dirt had swallowed his bones. His voice cracked against the silence. I didn't know. I swear it. She didn't blink. You wore a badge. He shook his head. That was years back. You held the keys. I never touched her, but you locked the door. I didn't know she was inside. She told you. I didn't believe her. She begged. He looked at the bones. I remember. You turned the key. His hands fumbled against the hay. I thought she was lying. People lied all the time back then. Said the sheriff was this and that. Most just wanted out of town. Make noise, 'cause shame. She wasn't the first. She was the only one who bled out in your barn. He stood too fast. Stumbled. I didn't kill her. No, she said. You just left the door locked long enough for someone else to do it. I didn't think he'd go that far. You knew him. He was the law. And so were you. He turned his back to her. It wasn't like that. You wore a badge. He gritted his teeth. Not for him. I wore it to keep things quiet, to keep people safe. She stepped forward. Then why weren't we safe? He didn't answer. You held the keys, she said again. Don't forget that. He faced her, voice low. I lost the badge a long time ago. No, she said. You just stopped cleaning it. He stared at her. You buried it like everything else. Deep, dirty, covered it in silence. He laughed once, bitter. You think it was that simple? You think I just went to bed the night she died and never thought of her again? You didn't come looking for me. I didn't know you were alive. You didn't ask. He walked to the far wall, leaned against it. I thought I was keeping peace. That's what they told us. Keep the peace. Keep your head down. Let the sheriff handle the noise. We just had to make sure the fences stayed mended and the barns didn't burn. She crossed her arms. You were the noise. His mouth twisted. He threatened me too. Said if I spoke up, I'd lose everything. My land, my dog, my neck. Then you should have lost it. He dropped his head. I was scared. She was braver. He laughed again, quieter this time. She was always braver. She stepped closer. She told me about you. Said you weren't like the others. Said there was something in your eyes that hadn't gone cold. He didn't look up. She believed in that. Believed in you. He whispered, she shouldn't have. She died believing it anyway. His jaw clenched. I tried to stop it. When I found her body, I tried to make it right. I buried her here because it was the only place that still felt like hers. Then you locked the barn again. I didn't know what else to do. You had the badge. I didn't wear it after that. Why? Because it felt like a lie. She reached into her coat, pulled out a small cloth, brown and frayed. What's that? He asked. She didn't answer. He took a step forward. What is it? She tossed it toward him. It landed in the hay between them. He stared at it. Didn't move. Go on, she said. He crouched down. I picked it up. The fabric unwrapped with a crackle, like something breaking loose from time. Inside was the badge. Rust covered the edges. The number is barely visible. A deep crack split it down the center, like it had been stepped on. He touched it with 2 fingers. I thought it was gone. I found it buried under the porch, she said, wrapped in the same rag she used to carry berries in. He looked up at her. Why bring it to me? Because it was never yours to lose. His fingers clenched around the metal. You think this makes me a monster? She didn't blink. Number monsters don't feel shame. He stood, slow. I was weak. You still are. He nodded. I know. She stared at the badge. She trusted you. I didn't earn it. Then why did she die waiting? He didn't answer. She pointed at the badge. That's not what she gave you. What she gave you was time. She believed you'd come back, that you'd open the door. I was too late. You still are. The silence wrapped tight around them. He slipped the badge into his pocket like it might burn a hole through his leg. And she didn't stop him, because he didn't deserve to leave it behind again. He sat with the badge in his hand, eyes on the ground like it might offer a way out. It didn't. Nothing did. Not here. Not anymore. He came for her, he said. The girl didn't flinch. I didn't stop him. She stood near the stall door, arms crossed, steady. Why not? He ran this land. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. You let him walk through your barn and drag her out. He nodded. She screamed. And you stayed inside. I watched from the loft. You were up there. He nodded again. I couldn't move. You had a rifle. I didn't pick it up. She stared at him like she was trying to carve him out of the skin he wore. You were the only one who could have stopped him. He looked at her. And he knew it. So he made sure you didn't. He rubbed the badge between his thumb and forefinger. He didn't even have to say it. Just looked at me. That look said everything. He owned this place. The dirt, the graves, the names. Mine too. You still let her go. She wasn't mine to keep. But she trusted you. He let out a long breath. She said she'd be back before dark. Said she just needed to talk to him. Make it clear she wasn't his anymore. Make it clean. I told her not to go. But you didn't follow. I waited. That was the mistake. She came back different, the girl said. He nodded slowly. Didn't say much. Just held your hand. walked to the barn like she couldn't be seen in daylight anymore. She asked for a blanket, then said she'd be gone by morning. She wasn't. No, she died here. She died in the same corner you're standing in. The girl didn't move. I thought it was quiet, he said. I thought she was sleeping. She was bleeding out. I know that now. She was my mama. I know. You let the sheriff take her. He closed his eyes. I did. She stepped forward. And you let him keep walking free. He still runs the grain office, still gives the Sunday prayers at the monument, still has his boots cleaned on the courthouse steps. The girl's voice dropped. Then I'm not done. He looked at her. You think you can touch him. I don't need to touch him. I just need to make him feel. He stood. You think he remembers her? No. You think he even recalls her name? I think he forgets because he's allowed to. He swallowed hard. So what do you want from me? Truth. I already gave it. Not enough. What more is there? She stepped toward him again. You knew where she was buried. You knew what he did. You knew what it meant to carry his silence. I carried it alone. No, you buried it and called it wait. He didn't respond. She never got buried properly, the girl said. He looked at her. What do you mean? She's under dirt, not on the ground. That's not the same thing. He hesitated. She didn't get prayers. She didn't get her name carved in stone. She didn't even get a goodbye. You just put her down. I didn't have a choice. You had time. He turned away. You had time to go into town, to tell someone, to speak her name. You didn't. I was scared. She wasn't. The barn felt smaller, like the air was thinning. I came back, the girl said, to give her a grave, a real one, to say her name out loud. I came back to make sure someone remembered her the right way. He nodded once. That's why I'm here, she said. He stared at the ground. You said you weren't alone. I'm not. He looked at her. There's someone else. Before she could answer, the sound came, sharp, metallic, a shovel hitting earth. Once, then again. He looked toward the barn doors. So did she. The sound continued, deliberate, measured. Who is that? He asked. She didn't blink. Someone who remembers, too. The shovel struck again, closer. He felt something shift in his chest. Not fear. Not yet. Something older. The girl stepped into the light. We're digging her out, and we're not leaving her behind this time. He opened his mouth to speak, but the shovel hit again, and again, and again. The shovel stopped. The sound didn't fade. It just stopped, sudden and clean, like someone had turned off the world. He stepped toward the barn door, chest tight. The girl didn't move. Who's out there? He asked. She stayed silent. He opened the door slowly. A boy stood at the edge of the yard, barefoot, dirt streaked up his shins, too thin, shoulders like broken wings, hair matted to his face, eyes wide and still. He didn't speak, didn't blink. The man stepped out. You with her? The boy didn't answer. The girl walked past him. He's my brother. The man glanced between them. How old? She shrugged. Don't know. He looked at the boy. He talks. She shook her head. Never has. The man narrowed his eyes. He mute. No, she said. He just doesn't talk. The boy stepped forward. His feet made no sound on the dirt. His face didn't change. The man stared at him. Something turned in his stomach. Those eyes, not the shape, not the color, the look, the way they held you in place. He'd seen that look once before. The day the sheriff grabbed the woman by her wrist, dragged her across the barn while she begged and twisted and fought against the dirt. She'd looked back at him one last time, her face soaked with blood and soil, and those were the same eyes, cold, resigned, watching everything. Where'd you find him? The man asked. I didn't, the girl said. He found me. The boy walked into the barn without a word, looked around like he'd been there before. The man followed him with his eyes. What's his name? Don't know. You didn't name him. He came out quiet. Mama didn't get time to name him properly. The boy crouched near the bones on the floor, didn't touch them, just stared. The girl leaned against the stall. She was already dying when he showed up. She bled into the straw and told me to keep him warm. That's all I remember. You were 5. Still was my job. The boy looked at her. She gave a small nod. He turned back to the bones. The man crossed his arms. How'd he survive? She didn't answer. He doesn't speak. Doesn't eat much by the look of him. Doesn't blink like a normal boy. He watches. He's not right. He remembers. The man shook his head. You brought a ghost into my barn. She looked him dead in the eye. You made one first. The boy walked over to the wall, picked up a piece of coal from the floor. The man stepped forward. Hey, don't let him, the girl said. The boy pressed the coal to the wood. I began to draw. At first it was just lines, circles. Then it became a house, crooked roof, 2 windows, then a tree beside it, a rope hanging from one of the branches. The man's voice dropped. What's he drawing? She didn't answer. The boy added a figure, stick arms, badge on the chest. Another figure, smaller, kneeling, then another, on the ground. The man stepped closer. What is this? The boy kept drawing. He added lines around the barn, scribbled something into the dirt at the bottom. The man read the word out loud. Mama. He stumbled back like he'd been struck. The girl watched him. He remembers in pictures, not words. The man's face was pale. He saw it all, she said. The boy stepped back from the wall. His face is still blank. The man stared at the drawing. That's the tree behind the courthouse. She nodded. He drew the sheriff. She nodded again. He saw it? He never forgets. The man rubbed his temples. This ain't right. He was under the hay when you buried her. He looked at her. You said you were. I was. He was with me. You were both here? We were all she had. The boy walked to the stall, sat down, and stared at the drawing. The man crouched next to him. You remember that day? The boy didn't move. The man whispered, I do too. The girl knelt beside them. He remembers things differently than us. Not sound. Not words. Just the shapes. The weight. The boy rested his hand on the coal. He remembers things in pictures, she whispered. Not words. The boy pressed the coal against the wall again, and this time he started to draw you. The barn didn't breathe anymore. It held its breath. Every inch of air tightened with the sound of coal scratching wood. The boy moved slowly, steady, like he was remembering the truth stroke by stroke. His bare fingers pressed the coal so hard it cracked at the edges. The man watched, arms crossed, trying not to flinch. He already knew what the boy would draw next. That didn't make it easier. The house came first. Sagging roof, crooked chimney, a porch missing its railings. My place, the man said. He remembers it. He was born near it, the girl said. The boy added a small square in the yard, then a bucket, then the shape of a well, circle, rope, pulley. It sat too close to the house, too deep. The man whispered, That's the one. The girl didn't need to ask. Then came the tree, thick trunk, split limb, a noose drawn fast, like he didn't want to stop. The boy didn't blink, just kept going. He added a figure, tall, the hat pulled low, arms stiff, a black shape across the chest, a badge bold and crooked. The man's breath hitched. That's the sheriff. The boy drew a second figure, smaller, kneeling, a hand reaching out, then another, on the ground, bloodlines drawn in deep, dark slashes. The man took one step forward. He remembers all of it. The girl said quietly, He never forgot. The boy paused, turned toward them like he was waiting, then turned back and drew one more figure. This one stood off to the side. No face, a badge drawn on its chest too. The man's eyes went wide. That's not me. The girl didn't speak. That's not me, he said louder. The boy didn't stop. He went over the badge again, harder, darker. The man stepped closer. That's not me. I wasn't there. The girl looked at the wall. He thinks it is. I didn't stand beside him, the man said. I didn't help him. You didn't stop him either. He looked at the boy. You've got it wrong. The boy said nothing, just stared at the image. You were a baby, the man said. You didn't see this. He saw enough, the girl said. The man pointed at the tree. I hated that place. I told him it was wrong. I said so in front of others. But you never cut it down. He stared at the noose on the wall. It was already there before me. You let it stay. He backed away. He's drawing things he doesn't understand. He understands more than you do, she said. The man looked at the badge on the second figure. He thinks I'm like him. The girl turned. He doesn't see the difference. He should. You wore the same mark. I didn't use it like he did. You didn't stop him from using it. The man looked down. He's wrong. No, she said. He just remembers what hurt him most. The boy picked up the coal again. Draw a small circle below the figures. A grave, then 2 more. He didn't label them. He didn't have to. The man whispered, "He's telling the whole story." "He's telling the part you won't," she said. The boy added more, small things. A dog, a chair, a blanket with stripes. Every shape is remembered, every detail burned in. The man turned to her. "You told him to draw this?" "He draws what he remembers." The man walked toward the wall. His voice cracked. "That badge, it meant something to me." "To him, it meant death," the girl said. The man stared at the coal lines. "I wasn't ready to be in charge of anyone." "But you were." "I was a coward." "Yes," she said. He didn't argue. The boy dropped the coal. It rolled across the dirt and stopped by the man's foot. He didn't pick it up. The girl walked forward. "He's not done." The boy reached up with his finger, dragged it through the last drawing, a smear of black. The badge vanished in a dark blur. Then he looked at the man. His eyes weren't angry, just tired, like he'd carried this too long. The man said softly, "I didn't know she had you." "She told you," the girl said. "You just forgot." "I tried to forget a lot." She stepped closer, and he remembered it all for you. They all turned to face the wall, the tree, the well, the badge, the shadow of a man standing too still. The man swallowed hard. "That well, it's still out there." She looked at him. "You think she's in it?" He nodded. "I don't want her to be." The boy turned toward the barn door. The man lit the lantern with trembling fingers. "I'm not running," he said. "Good," the girl whispered. He walked toward the boy, held out the light. "We're going to do that well." And none of them looked back. They walked through grass that hadn't been cut in years. The 3 of them, girl, boy, man, like ghosts heading back to the scene of something that never stopped happening. The wind didn't move. The church in the distance stood crooked in its spine. Its bell was long gone, the tower eaten by weather and guilt. The well was still there. He stopped before it like it had called his name. The stone mouth was cracked. The rope rotted, frayed like a noose that had forgotten how to hold. The old pulley above it hung crooked, iron eaten through, but still there, still waiting. The girl didn't speak. Neither did the boy. The man moved closer. His boots sank in the wet dirt. He raised the lantern and held it out. The light barely reached the edge. "I haven't been here in years." "Doesn't look like it missed you," the girl said. He didn't argue. The boy crouched near the grass, picked up a stick, started dragging it slowly through the mud. He wasn't drawing this time, just marking the ground. The man leaned over the well. Cold air came up in bursts, sharp, old. He listened. Nothing. No water, no wind. He lowered the lantern closer. The rope groaned. He let the light swing forward. The flame trembled. And then it caught. A flicker of fabric, pale, folded like something left in a rush. He adjusted the angle. It wasn't just cloth. It was skin. He pulled back fast, nearly dropped the lantern. "Jesus!" The girl stepped beside him. "What do you see?" "Clothes. Maybe a blanket. Could be. I don't know." "Try again." He hesitated. "Look closer," she said. He leaned back in. The light swayed, touched my shoulder, part of an arm. The flesh was tight, gray-pink, mummified in silence. He stumbled back. That wasn't supposed to happen." She didn't move. "You knew this might be here." "I buried her in the barn." "Maybe he moved her." He looked at her. "He wouldn't. He moved all kinds of people." "She was dead when I found her." "Was she?" The boy stayed by the edge of the grass, still dragging his stick. Circles now, tight, deliberate. The man's hands trembled. "I thought I did right by her. I thought—" "You buried a body, not the truth." "I couldn't bring her to town." "Then you should have stayed in town until someone listened." He stared at the well. This place, this well, was for cattle, for work. It wasn't supposed to be a grave. She leaned over. "But it is." He nodded slowly. The girl dropped to her knees, picked up a handful of gravel and let it fall in. Each piece bounced off stone, then disappeared into the dark. Her clothes had red trim, she said. Hand-stitched. Mama sewed when we were on the road. He nodded again. I remember. The red caught the sheriff's eye. I remember that, too. She stood. You're going to tell them. He looked at her. Tell who? Everyone. He blinked. They won't care. They have to. They've forgotten her. Then you'll remind them. They'll say it was too long ago. Then you'll speak longer. He looked back at the well. What if they bury me next? She leaned close, eyes sharp, voice soft. You deserve to be buried after. He didn't move. Say her name, she said. He hesitated. Say it, she whispered. Lena. The wind finally moved. She nodded once. You're going to tell them what happened. His throat tightened. All of it, she said. He looked down into the well, where the light flickered against the still shape of a woman that nobody came looking for. He didn't ask how. He didn't ask why. He just said, all right. And behind him, the boy started drawing circles again. Bigger now, deeper, like he was opening something no one else could. The fence was too clean. Paint white as bone. No chips, no wear. It didn't match the land around it. Muddy, broken, soaked in history. The man stopped just short of the gate. The girl didn't. She walked right up to it, leaned both hands against the wood, like she was checking if it would bite. Behind them, the boy trailed slowly. Quiet. Cole's stick in one hand. The dogs came first. 3 of them, barking loud enough to make your chest shake. Not barking to warn, barking to claim. The man stepped back. They're trained to kill. She didn't flinch. They're trained to obey. The dogs didn't cross the fence. They just circled inside, foam at their mouths, tails stiff. He's got them blood-wired, the man said. One whistle and they'll rip through anything that smells wrong. The girl raised her hand, palm out. The dogs went still. The man watched them. That's not normal. Nothing about this is, she said. The porch sat too high off the ground. Big chairs, clean windows, a swing that hadn't moved in years. The man peered up toward the door. He's not here. He's at church. Of course he is. She walked along the edge of the fence until she found the break in the line, just wide enough to squeeze through. She didn't hesitate. The man followed. The boy came last, dragging his coal across the white boards as he passed, a long black line in the middle of the sheriff's world. The girl walked straight to the barn. Big red thing. Too new. Too proud. It didn't belong to this land. He built this over her grave, she said. The man looked down. You think she's under here? I think she never left. He exhaled through his nose. I remember this land. Before he bought it. Before he painted it like a lie. She reached into her coat and pulled out a matchbook. He froze. What are you doing? He burned her life down. I'm returning the favor. You're serious? I've never been more. He stepped back. The town will see it. Good. He'll kill you. Then let him try. The boy stopped walking. I looked at her. Then at the barn. The girl struck a match. It flared against the wind. Bright. Angry. She held it steady, then let it touch the edge of a dry hay bale stacked outside. The fire took place quickly. The man moved backward. We should go. Not yet, she said. They stood there and watched the flames crawl up the side of the sheriff's red barn like vines returning to choke out a lie. The dogs barked again, but didn't come close. The man turned his head. This won't fix it. No, she said, but it will mark it. The wood cracked loud. A window shattered from the heat. The boy walked to the edge of the porch, sat down on the steps. He drew in the dust with his finger. The girl crouched beside him. What do you see? He didn't answer. She looked at the man. You still think the world's gonna help us? He didn't answer either. The fire moved inside the barn now. The beams groaned. The air stank of smoke and history. The girl stood. We will go to town next. To do what? To speak. They'll never believe it. They don't have to. They've known him their whole lives. And no one's asked what he buried. The wind changed, pulled smoke toward them. She turned her back on the fire. We go. The boy stood, still quiet, still watching everything. As they walked down the hill, the smoke rose behind them like a curtain being torn open. The man didn't look back. The boy dragged the coal across every fence post he passed. A single line, unbroken, drawing his way to justice. One mark at a time. The church sat in the center of town like a wound dressed in white. Cross tall, bell gone. Pews full of people who'd learned not to ask questions too loud. The man wiped his hands on his shirt again and again. They were already clean. His legs didn't want to move. His chest felt too tight. The girl walked ahead of him, straight, unshaken. The boy kept pace behind them both. Silent as always. The doors of the church weren't locked. They never were. The sheriff liked to say God didn't hide. The girl didn't knock. She didn't pause. She shoved both doors open so hard they slammed against the walls like gunfire. Heads turned, Bibles dropped. The sheriff froze mid-sentence. The pulpit looked smaller with her walking toward it. He stepped back. What the hell is this? The man stayed in the doorway. Couldn't make himself step inside. The girl walked down the aisle. Every step echoed. The sheriff's voice was louder now, trying to fill the room. This is the house of the Lord. You will show respect. She didn't answer. He pointed. Someone get her out of here. No one moved. She reached the bottom step of the altar. The sheriff's jaw clenched. You don't belong here. She reached into her coat. He reached for his side. The man at the door stepped forward. Don't. The sheriff paused. The girl pulled out the badge. It was wrapped in the same dirty cloth. She didn't unwrap it, just dropped the whole thing at his feet like a snake shedding its skin. His eyes narrowed. She said, Your name's next. The silence cracked open. Someone in the back stood. Then another. Then another. No one spoke. The sheriff stared at the bundle. Are you threatening me? She didn't answer. You think this means something? He growled. You think dragging up old names and old bones makes you right? Still, she said nothing. You don't scare me, girl. I'm not here to scare you, she said. I'm here to name you. He scoffed. Name me? She pointed to the badge. You wore that when she died. You wore it when you dragged her by the wrist. When you laughed in her face. When you stood over her body and called it law. He shifted. I don't know who you're talking about. You know exactly who. The man said, stepping into the light. The crowd gasped. The sheriff's face twitched. You stay out of this. You buried her with your silence, the girl said. I did what had to be done. No, she said. You did what no one stopped you from doing. The sheriff turned to the crowd. She's lying. You all know me. They knew her too, the girl said. She was a runaway. He snapped. A thief, a liar. She was my mama. Murmurs, shifting. Uneasy weight in the air. The girl took a breath. She begged you. She was nothing. She bled on your floor. I gave her a chance. You gave her a death sentence. The sheriff moved down a step. What do you want? You want me to apologize? I want you to burn. He stepped back. You lost your mind. No, the man said. She found it, piece by piece. The sheriff pointed at the man. You were supposed to keep your mouth shut. I did, he said, for too long. The boy stepped forward. No one noticed until he was at the altar steps. He knelt down, pulled the coal from his pocket. The sheriff shouted, What's that boy doing? No one answered. He drew slowly. First a well, then a rope, then a man with a badge standing in flames. The room went silent. The girl watched. Her voice is calm now. He draws what you buried. The sheriff took another step back. The boy kept drawing. His hands are steady. The townsfolk stood still, as if their shoes were nailed to the wood. The sheriff tried one last time. This is all lies. All of it. The girl knelt beside the drawing. Number, it's a memory. The boy drew the last shape. A match. The girl looked up at the sheriff. Your name's next. And 4. The first time in all his years holding that pulpit, he didn't speak. He just stared at the cold drawing of himself burning on holy ground. The doors didn't slam this time. They creaked open slowly, softly, like they knew not to disturb what had already been said. The girl walked out first. Her back was straight, her jaw set, the coal drawing behind her still fresh on the church floor, still bleeding truth in lines and shapes no sermon could erase. The man followed, not fast, not slow, just behind her, where he'd always been. The boy trailed them both. His hands are empty now. Nobody stopped them. Nobody moved. The town stayed frozen, heads half bowed in a shame they couldn't name. He expected someone to speak, a murmur, a question, a lie to fix the air. But there was nothing, just footsteps and silence, and the soft thud of the boy dragging his heel through the dust as they walked. They made it past the market, past the boarded-up bakery, past the courthouse steps where the sheriff used to lean and smile like God owed him breath. No one followed, no one helped. The girl didn't look back. She waited until they reached the edge of town where the white fence used to stand before the fire took it. Then she stopped. I turned to the man. "Mama trusted you," she said. He opened his mouth, but no sound came. She waited. He tried again. "I didn't earn that." "I know. I never deserved it." "I know that too." He looked at the ground. "Then why bring me back?" She stared at him for a long moment. "Because I needed to see why she trusted you, what she saw." "And did you?" "I saw a man who waited too long." He nodded. "I always do." She held his gaze. "But I also saw you come back." He swallowed hard. "I couldn't carry it anymore." "She carried it for both of us," the girl said, "until she couldn't." He reached into his coat, pulled out the badge, held it in his palm. I felt the weight. They cracked down the center. Then he bent down and laid it at the gatepost. Not buried, not hidden, just left. The boy stepped around him, never stopped walking. His feet hit the dirt road like he already knew where home was. The girl watched him go. "He doesn't need to speak," she said. "He remembers in ways none of us can." The man nodded. "I'll never forget that drawing." "You shouldn't." He looked at her one last time. "Are you going back to the barn?" "I left something there." She turned. He followed, but not too close. The walk was quiet, dust in the wind, smoke still faint on the horizon. When they reached the barn, the girl didn't speak. She stepped inside, slow. The floor still held the memory of what they'd uncovered. The bones were gone now, buried proper behind the fence line. A wooden cross above them. No name carved. Not yet. The man stayed outside, watched her through the open door. She picked up the old broom, the same one she'd held when she first arrived. She swept in steady strokes, corner to corner, hay to dust to quiet. He leaned against the post. "You don't have to do that." She didn't stop. "I know." He stepped inside. "Let me help." She shook her head. "You helped bury her. Let me clean what's left." He stepped back. The broom moved like it knew the weight of the room. She paused at the spot where the bone first showed, pressed her foot there, then swept again. No sound rose up from beneath. No shape. No cry. The floor was clean now, really clean. She leaned the broom against the wall and turned around. The man nodded at her. "Are you staying?" he asked. She looked around. "Number just needed to finish it right." "You did." She stepped out into the light. The boy stood at the fence, drawing in the dirt with one finger. Just a line, just a shape, nothing urgent. She joined him. The man watched them from the doorway. He didn't say anything else, didn't ask where they were going, didn't offer to follow. He just stood still as the girl and the boy walked away. And when they were gone, he looked at the clean barn floor. No bones, no blood, no ghosts crying out, just silence. And for once, it didn't feel like guilt. It felt like something was being let go. The house sat on the far edge of town like it had been trying to disappear for years. Paint peeled in long strips. The porch sagged, curtains drawn even in daylight. It was the kind of house people whispered about but never visited unless someone was dying. The girl didn't knock. She pushed open the door, the boy following behind her. The hinges moaned. The wood groaned. Inside smelled like paper and lavender left too long in a drawer. The man hadn't come. He stood by the barn when they left, hands in his pockets, eyes down. She hadn't asked him to follow. He hadn't offered. The widow was sitting in a chair by the fire, wrapped in 3 shawls even though it wasn't cold. Her hair was white and tight against her skull. Her eyes were sharp, but her hands trembled. She didn't speak when the girl entered, just looked up, slow. "We're not here to steal," the girl said. The widow's voice came dry. "You wouldn't be the first." The boy stepped into the light. His clothes are still stained with dust and ash. The widow froze. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but in memory. She blinked hard. "I've seen that face." The girl nodded. "He was born here. So was I." "I remember the mother," the widow whispered. "Red trim on her shawl. Big eyes. She used to sing by the river. She never came home." The girl said. The widow looked down at her hands. "Number. She didn't. You wrote about her, didn't you?" The fire cracked. The widow didn't answer. You kept the names, the births, the deaths, the ones who disappeared without burial. Still, no answer. The girl stepped closer. I need to see it. The widow's voice dropped. It's not safe. It never was. They stared at each other for a long time. Then the widow stood, slow and shaky. This way, she said. She led them to the kitchen, pushed aside an old hutch, bent to the floor and pulled up a loose board. Beneath it, a small brass ring. She lifted it. A trapdoor. The smell of dirt rose up like breath from a forgotten mouth. The girl and boy followed her down. The cellar was small, cold, one single bulb swinging overhead. The widow walked to the far wall, moved a crate, pulled away 2 boards nailed flat. Behind them, a black tin box sealed with rusted clasps. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside, an old leather-bound ledger, thick, pages curled with time. The girl took it without asking, opened it in her hands. The names were written in perfect script. Anna Mae Delmer, gone. Sarah Ruth Finney, gone. Miriam Hall, gone. Lena, underlined twice. No note, no cause, just the date. The girl touched her mother's name. The widow sat on a crate. They used to call me to record the baptisms, the weddings, the funerals. Said I had the clearest handwriting. The girl flipped through more pages. These women didn't get funerals. Number, they got told to leave. Or worse. The girl looked up. You knew? I knew enough. Why didn't you stop it? I tried, the widow said, voice cracking. Went to the church once. I brought my book, spoke to the reverend. What happened? The sheriff's wife knocked on my door the next morning, said she wanted tea. The girl didn't speak. She never touched me, didn't raise her voice, just sat there and said, we all do what we're told. You understand, don't you? The boy walked to the wall, took out the coal from his coat. He drew the widow's house, tall and crooked, a woman in the window. Then he crossed it out with one thick black line. The widow watched him, said nothing. The girl closed the book. This wasn't one man. No, this was a family, and a church, and a town. The widow nodded. I still wake up every Sunday and wonder how many more names I could have written down if I'd had the nerve. The girl looked at her. You had enough nerve to keep the ledger. It won't change what they did, but it'll burn the ones who watched. The widow nodded once, slow. Then take it. The girl didn't thank her. She just turned, climbed back up the stairs, book pressed to her chest like a shield. The boy followed, leaving the drawing on the wall. Outside, the wind had picked up. The streets were quiet. She looked toward the center of town, toward the steeple, toward the place that crowned the men who wore silence like skin. She held the ledger tighter. The boy stood beside her, silent. We bury one man, she said, and they'll build another. She looked down at the black book in her hands. But this burns everyone. The river didn't look the same, but it sounded the same, slow-moving, heavy like it was carrying things it never asked for. The girl stood at the edge of it, holding the ledger in both hands. The boy crouched beside her, tracing lines in the dirt with a flat rock. This is where she used to wash clothes, the girl said. Every Thursday, just before sunset, she'd hum and splash like the world hadn't already decided what to do with her. The boy didn't answer, but he stopped drawing. I remember her voice more than her face, she whispered. That's the thing that stayed. She knelt down, opened the ledger to the first page. Anna Mae Delmer. She said the name out loud. The river took it. The boy leaned forward and scratched a circle into the mud, drew a girl with braids beside it, then moved on. Sarah Ruth Finney. The girl spoke it like a prayer. The boy drew a small house with no windows, Miriam Hall, a rope, a pair of shoes. She kept going, one by one. Each name is louder than the last. For every name she read, the boy left something behind. A stick figure, a well, a bird, a crying face, some shapes he didn't finish, some he drew, then crossed out. She flipped the page. Lena. Her fingers shook. She hasn't read it yet. Not that one. She closed the book slowly and stared out at the water. Mama used to say the river never forgot anything, that it carried things until someone had the courage to pull them out. The boy didn't speak. He just looked up. Footsteps came behind them, slow, careful. The girl didn't turn. I figured you'd be here, the man said. She stood but didn't face him. He held a tin box. Rusted, dented, familiar. Found it buried beneath the porch steps, he said. Same place she used to sit when it rained. She turned now, looked him in the eye. What is it? He didn't speak, just handed it over. She opened it. Inside was a scarf, red trim, folded tight. The fabric still smelled faintly of soap and pine. Her breath caught. There was a scrap of paper tucked inside, faded, torn at the edges, written in soap pencil. If he reads this, I made it out. If not, bury this and speak my name. The bottom line was smudged, water-stained, nothing else. The girl folded the paper back around the scarf. The man stepped back. I didn't know it was there. I swear she didn't look at him. I believe you. She turned to the boy. Come with me. They walked past the willow trees, down the bend, to a place where the grass grew short and the cedar roots reached up like bones. The girl dropped to her knees, dug with her hands, deep enough to matter. She placed the scarf inside. No cross, no marker, just dirt and breath and the weight of memory. She covered it up and smoothed the ground with her palms. The man watched from a distance. She stood, brushing off her skirt. Her eyes didn't shine, but they looked older now. He walked toward her slowly. You're not going back to town. There's nothing left there, she said. And the ledger. She opened her bag, slid it in beside a jar of matches and the coal. It's coming with me. He looked down at the ground where she'd buried the scarf. You're not going to mark it? No. She deserves more than that. She deserved not to be buried at all. He nodded. You're right. She turned to him. You still got the badge? I left it in the well. Good. The boy stood beside them, arms loose at his sides. The girl looked to the trees, then the river, then the open land behind them. No one followed us? She asked. The man shook his head. They're still pretending. Let them. He looked at her again. Where will you go? She adjusted the strap on her shoulder. Someplace quiet, someplace honest. You need help getting there? She smiled faintly. You've done enough. The wind shifted. The man watched as she turned to the boy. She crouched down, whispered, Let's go somewhere no one forgets. The boy stared at her. His lip moved. Nothing came out. She reached for his hand. Say it. He looked toward the river, then said his first word, Lena. And they walked away.